similar situations are in the state between the school funding. A lot worse recently. The job she's got is easy. Not at all.
I have 6 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're just coming out tonight to give a little bit of information of where we're at right now, and I know everybody knows we've got a millage coming up soon. We're going to be here probably about 30 minutes just to give a little bit of information. If anybody has a question tonight, if they want to come down and ask it, I'm going to ask that you come down to a mic because we are broadcasting it on YouTube. And I've got a couple people here that I'm going to ask to speak tonight. I know I'm going to have Michael McBride from Stevens Inc. come up and talk just a little bit and just kind of give you a little bit of idea of where we are at as a district. I'm going to start by telling you that in 1984 was the last time a millage was passed for the Mountain View School District. And that was I believe, after all the research I've done, and believe me, it's been hard to find back that far, it was a 1.09 mil to build the new gym, which we're standing in now, and the high school wing right over there. And in a 10-year process in 1995, that 1.09 mil sunsetted off. I think I'm correct. Am I right, Michael? Isn't that correct? And when that sunsetted off, that put us at 28.91 mils. And just to give you an idea, if you want to go out there on public computer and look up all the schools in the state of Arkansas, don't go to the top, scroll all the way to the bottom, go one up. That's where we sit. Now, with me saying that, we run 3 of the best schools in the state of Arkansas. If you don't believe that, go on the computer and look at the data there too. There's things that work at Rural Special, there's things that work at Timbo, and there's things that work at Mountain View. So I would call that highly successful for us all. Now, you might go to each campus and something totally different being going on, but there's learning going on. I'll give you a good example. Went to Timbo day before yesterday with our new hospital administrator. He's really wanting to get involved with the schools, which I like, but he's wanting to meet everybody and just kind of slowly get into that process. We actually stopped at Rural Special first, but there was things going on up there, and Mr. Barn was actually down at Timbo, so we headed down the mountain, and we walked in to Timbo, and when we left, he said, man, he said, that's one of the best campuses I've ever been on. And he's been on some good ones. He's from the Batesville area. He lives at Southside. His kids go to Southside. But now when he went in there, he wasn't just saying that to say, hey, that's great. He meant it. And he met Dusty. He met Mr. Passmore. He met a few other people there. But that's just from walking in the Agri building. And he couldn't believe that back behind the Agri building, we had our own sawmill. He said, that's unbelievable. But that's the little things in our county that we bring a little bit different. And I told the teachers this the other day, district-wide, I look on the news every night. Everybody out there has done the best thing in the world since COVID-19. If you find anybody out there that's done more than our 3 campuses for our kids during this pandemic, bring them on. I want to see them. There might be 1 or 2 out there, but there's not many. I promise you. Now, you know, I met a few weeks ago with the Republican Party over here, and we fielded a few of their questions, and I think we answered them pretty good. You know, the biggest thing, you know, they was asking was, what's worst case scenario? And I only have to go over worst case scenario with the crowd that's in here because I think that you know, but for YouTube, I'm going to tell you, there could be a lot of people in our county be looking for jobs. And that don't just affect Timbo, don't just affect Rural Special, don't just affect Mountain View, it will affect everybody in Stone County somehow. Everybody. Number 1, if people don't have jobs, they're leaving. They've got to go somewhere to work. I don't care who you are, you got to go somewhere to work. And if you look around here, and Judge Avy's right over there, We don't have 10 factories up here in Mountain View that's employing 200 to 250 people doing. I mean, so we are probably the biggest, I think, employer in this county, other than maybe the hospital. So you start knocking people out of work, that's a big deal. That's a real big deal. And we've had to change a lot of things this year. And I told teachers this the other day. I know there's some elementary teachers that I talked to. We're some elementary teachers. Right there's one. We was down there the other day, and I said, this has not been a fun process for me. And one of the things that was brought up was our salary schedule. Why did we have to do that? Well, I can tell you why. Because we don't want on the fiscal distress list, and we don't want our district going in fiscal distress. So I was told a long time ago, Mr. Howard, you better get that fixed, get a lot of the fluff cut out of it, and take some years off. And I've got people here that can verify that too. And I made the board very aware of that from about the first week that I took over here. And I told you guys the other day, I don't just sit in there for fun trying to find a way to cut a salary schedule, because I promise you, that don't make you popular with your teachers. That doesn't make you popular. But if we don't get on the right track and get it to where we can fix it back, a lot of these young teachers that I know we've got, they're going to move too. If they can. Because I dare say, right there was one of them, I dare say you want to top out your salary at 16 years. Am I correct? So, there's a lot of reasons that we need this. But, some of the other things I was asked, why such a loss of students over the last 12 years? I'm going to tell you, and I don't mind saying it. And I think you guys were at the meeting the other night. Were you guys not there the other night? You're a former teacher, right? Don't mean to point you out, but about 12 years ago, homeschool got real popular. And let me tell you why. It's not because they're learning everything via homeschool. It's because of one word. Accountability. They have none. If you come up here every year, we have to test. We got to test every year to prove what we're doing. And we do a pretty good job of it. Matter of fact, we do a great job of it. We got people that care about our kids, and that's why we do such a good job. But the homeschool, there's probably about 7% that do it 110% right. The other 93 are not. They're allowed to go do as they please. And in my opinion, I'll tell anybody in the world that. I'll tell anybody that down there at the state capitol that. That's not right. That's not right. If you want to homeschool, there ought to be some type of accountability, or you ought to be up here with the rest of us. Now, we had to go virtual this year. I can tell you right now, we did a pretty good job of adjusting to it, but everybody knows there's nothing like being in the classroom. And one of the best phrases I heard the other day from one of our teachers was, man, it was such a good day today, I actually gave my kids paper, pencil, and we went back to the basics. And I said, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Because I know that kids are tired of sitting in front of a computer. And that's something that's here to stay, but we're going to take that off of our teachers. And if you want to be a virtual student, you're going to have to apply to do that. And there's going to have to be some pretty good, valid reasons in order to be a virtual student. Okay? Now, we're not just going to take it off the plate, but it is not going to go through. They'll still be our students, but we're going to have a program that they go through where our teachers are not having to double up. And our teachers doubled up a lot. And I am tickled to death to see that guy right here sitting here tonight. Toby, stand up so people can see who you are. Toby is our chef for Chartwell's that runs our program for our lunches. Hey, I can't tell you how much it means to see you here, Toby. That means a lot. No telling how many meals his folks have served this year in Stone County. And I can tell you this, and the board will tell you this too. I don't know how many years it's been, but it's the first time our lunch program has been in the black. Is that right, Toby? Okay. So that's a big accomplishment. And a couple years ago when I took over, I told the board, I said, I'm really going to take a jump out there. I think we're at a Provision 2 level with our lunch program, with our free and reduced lunch program. And every building bought in, every campus, and we did what it took to get those applications back in. And sure enough, we hit right about that 72% range, which meant a lot of money for our district. And it was just by stroke of luck that we hit it. During the pandemic, they considered us since we were Provision 2, there was 5 schools that went that year. Everybody in our district should have received, if you had children in school, I think a $300 debit card for $320 for meals. Every student. But that was by luck. That was not by. That was something that was really big for all our families in this county that had students in school. And I know a lot of people that needed it. We had some new programs that we bought into from the beginning at Mountain View Elementary with Save the Children. And I know Ms. Fuqua and Ms. Shipman are both here tonight. And there are no telling how many meals that we served with that. And I know when we was in the heat of the pandemic, one of our drop zones and where we was dropping everything off was at Flatwoods. And that's when everything was hot and heavy with these meal drops. And I remember seeing pictures of Dallas, Houston, and the first 2 we did down there, it looked just like that, did it not, Ms. Mutual? And that's just some of the things. And we did that at Fox and Timbo too. That we did that everywhere in this county. But since day one, I don't think we have missed a meal, have we? Okay. But that's just some of the things that, guys, you don't find everywhere in the world what we've got in our county. And we have to have people to buy into that, to sustain that. And I told somebody the other day that I got a call, and it was a nice lady, and she told me that, do you not know that you're crazy and this is the absolute worst time to ask for a millage? And I said, absolutely, ma'am. I said, I do. I said, but if I asked for it 5 years from now, it wouldn't be a good time either. There's not a good time. And it's kind of like with the salaries. I don't sit around and say, man, I want to see if I can pass a millage. Because I know a lot of superintendents, and they've told me that that's the most miserable time they've ever spent in their life trying to pass a millage, and they're not lying. They're not lying. I know that. And some of these principals around here can tell you that, because I vent with them all the time. But with that being said, I've given you a lot of information. I hope you got some of those handouts. Don't care to answer any questions. Michael, would you like to come up and just give a little short?
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm Michael McBride. I'm with Stevens Inc. I serve as the district's municipal advisor. Typically what I do with the district, and the reason I have a little bit of a different relationship with your district, is because your district doesn't have any outstanding debt. So typically, I'm standing in front of a crowd like this saying, well, we're going to levy this tax, and we're going to go out, and we're going to issue bonds, and we're going to build a project, and it's, you're going to be paying a lot of your money towards, a lot of your property tax towards interest, and people really hate me. And so at least this time I don't have to say that, because all of this, is a maintenance and operation tax. And so when I was sitting here kind of thinking about this on my drive up, it's kind of like, I'd want to justify this if I were you, right? Like, could I square what is occurring and make sure that what I'm voting for is acceptable? And so, to me, I'm a numbers person. I work at a bank, and so I look at the numbers. And as Mr. Howard was saying earlier, when you look at your millage rate, when you compare your millage rate to any district in the state, it's extremely low. So when you take that millage rate, and your millage rate is a function of your funding, it's one of the larger functions, and that's your local share, right? So to be able to maintain a district, especially of this size, land-wise, you need a pretty decent local share. So what you're operating on is extremely low. And then you look at the assessed value, which is the value of all the property within the boundaries of the district. You simply multiply the tax rate against that assessed value. And I think you saw that in the handout, right? Because to you, it's like, well, what am I going to have to pay? But you have to look at it from the district standpoint of what am I receiving from my tax base? Your tax base in 2019, and I use 19 because 20 is still a little fluid, 19 was about 166 million. That's $166,000 if your county collects 100% per mill, right? Let's put that in perspective. If you look at Mountain Home, their assessed value is $664,000, or $664 million. So they're bringing in $664,000 per mill. Now they're educating more students. Okay, so let's go down. What about Heber Springs? They're educating about the same number. They don't have the difficulties of multiple campuses and basically a countywide district that you do, but they're operating on 32.8. However, they're bringing in about $310,000 locally per mill. So okay, if I'm thinking about it from that standpoint, I can start to justify why this makes a lot of sense and why this need is there. It's because you have a lot of students, you have a lot of area to cover, which you think about the expense of running school buses, things of that nature. And what you probably also don't see is the state is imposing more and more on districts locally and not really allowing them to be, or giving them any additional funding to handle this. And the reason you can know that is because, and again, I work with about 35 school districts throughout the state. My firm represents about half in the state of Arkansas. So we see a very fair number of these. When I'm just kind of looking down, if you remember not too long ago, Heber Springs, they went from M&O, millage increase. Looking just in counties near you, Quitman, they had to go for one. It was for bonds, but they also needed additional M&O money. I mean, you just go down the list and you look at the districts in your area, and really across the state, everyone is doing this because there is constant pressure and the things are going up. The expenses are going up and the state's not helping in the level that they should. So what does that mean? It means if you want to have your school district run appropriately locally, people have to step up, and that's what this is the form of. And so I'm here to answer any questions. I think that kind of gives you, from my brain, the justification, if you need that, to say, well, okay, are other people doing this? Yes. Why are we doing this? Well, our taxes are so low comparative to everyone else because of the cost of education going up. And, I saw in there, the one other thing I want to hit on, I saw in your pamphlet a chart, and it shows you how much your taxes will go up on your assessed value. What I want you to remember, and this is what happens a lot, is you go and you buy a truck or you buy your home, and that's the purchase price. That is not what you're taxed on in the state of Arkansas. You are taxed on the assessed value, which is 20% of that price. So please keep that in mind, because if you take the millage rate you're being asked and you put it in the actual purchase price, you're going to get the wrong number on what your tax bill is going to be. And so when you see in there, if you had $100,000 of assessed value, say $80,000 home, $20,000 truck, that $100,000 would go up about $140 on 7 mills. So don't take the $100,000 and multiply it. You have to get to the actual assessed value. So that's extremely important. One thing I wanted to point out as well. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Michael? He's the numbers guru. I would ask him any questions. Yeah, just so people can hear.
Just so I'm clear what you were saying, the millage, like the dollars we get per mill, is basically lower than other schools around us because we don't have a house on every block. We don't have, so our property values as an average are low. Could you kind of just hit that one more time for me?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what you do, and this is kind of the function of how all this works, you have a county assessor. Well, the county assessor goes out and assesses all the properties, arriving at the assessed value that I was talking about. So farmland is obviously going to assess lower than, say, a city block in Jonesboro or somewhere in Little Rock or somewhere in Fayetteville. So farmland is assessed lower. So obviously a lot of the boundaries of your district includes farmland. So you got to look at what is actually being assessed and what is being used, what the tax base is. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So it's Jonesboro School District, and I don't know why I'm using them as an example, but they may be they're much smaller than you in square miles, but the perceived value by the county assessor is much higher. And so even though you have a lot of land, the land value is assessed lower by the county level. So that's why you see, yeah, and so, like you think about, okay, well, Heber Springs, they're much smaller. Well, start throwing in lake houses, people's boats. There's things there that have more perceived value from the county assessor. And so that's why your mills generate less money, because your total assessed value or the total property value within the boundaries of your district is lower.
Any other questions for Michael?
And I'm sticking around, so something.
Thanks, Mike. Just a couple other things I was going to mention too. At our last board meeting, I've had so many calls this last week, and some from teachers, some from patrons, over teacher raises. And if you paid attention while the legislature was in session, the governor signed a new bill we was already trying to get teachers to an average salary of $36,000. He signed a new bill down there 3 weeks ago that if we was already in a 3-phase process, if we skip phase 2 and go to 3, we still get to receive next year the money set aside that they had already set for those raises for everybody. Am I right in saying that, Mr. Cooper? Okay, just want to make sure I don't say it wrong. And then the next year, the governor set aside $185 per kid that we have in the district to help compensate for that raise. So, I know everybody read a lot in the paper because I got a lot of comments because the headline said, board approves teacher raise. Well, that's true. 100% true. But if you're a headline reader, that's all you saw. And that's all the calls that I got. But if you go down in the article and read, it tells you why. Now, I'm telling you now, so you know why. I want you to know the facts, and I want you to hear it here. And if anybody's watching on YouTube, I want them to hear it. They're not up here spending money crazy. They're doing what we needed to do so we didn't have to skip a year of not getting funded for paying our teachers. And that's exactly what would have happened if we hadn't went that route, right, Mr. Cooper? And for those of you who don't know Gerald Cooper, he's the director of our co-op at North Central Arkansas over here. He's probably forgotten more than most have about school finance, I promise you. And I was lucky when I come into this that everybody's assigned a mentor, and he's mine. And I wouldn't trade him. Now he might trade me because I call him about 2 or 3 times a day. And so he's not got rid of me yet. And I appreciate all he's helped me with. But just so we clear that up, and everybody knows that, I want everybody in this room, because I had some teachers call and was pretty upset about that. And
I told them exactly, and we got it straightened out. But I want everybody here to know, and I want everybody on TV to know why we did that. But, you know, and even if we pass this 7 mills, we're not even average. Not even average in the state of Arkansas. The average millage in the state of Arkansas, I believe, is 38.76. And I had a gentleman from Omaha call me last Friday. He said, Mr. Howard, I can't remember the guy's name, he's superintendent there. He said, I understand you're trying to run a millage. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, I thought I was the only crazy one in the state. And he said, I'm trying to run one too. And I said, really? I said, how much are you trying to get? And he said, 6 mills. And he said, well, how much are you trying to get? And I said, well, I'm one ahead. I said, I'm trying to get 7. He said, well, where do you set at? And I said, 28.91. And he said, oh my gosh. And I said, where are you at? And he said, 39. He's asking for 6 at 39. We're asking for 7 at 28.91. That don't even get us where he's at. So I promise you this, if I didn't think we needed it, I wouldn't be standing here before you tonight asking. And, you know, May 18th is going to be a big day for our county. It's going to be a big day for our students. It's going to be a big day for our faculty. It means a lot for our county. So, if any of the board members want to say anything, I'd be happy. Anybody? Answer any questions that anybody might have. Just come down to the mic. If not,
exactly what will this give the school? To
with
raise the 7 mills, exactly what will this cover or entail all that money for?
it will cover day-to-day maintenance and operation and the salaries that we continue to have to pay. And that's correct, right, Mr. Cooper, what we had put in there. So, you got a question?
No, he said, or I was not.
I don't want you to either. But you know, some of the big things, I mean, we've done some big things, and so people know this too, and I had to go in and talk to Ms. Shipman a couple months ago, and we knew we had people retiring, and I knew when I went down there and said, Ms. Shipman, can we make it with the people that's retiring by not hiring them back? I knew she didn't want to say yes, because she knew when she said yes what I was going to say, didn't it? And when she did, I said, well, we're probably going to absorb those positions. So there's a lot of, you know, things that we are taking in when we can. Sometimes we can't. You know, bus drivers, we can't find them. That's some of the things that we can't find, and they're one of the most valuable assets that we have. We need bus drivers every day, need more of them. And guys, I'll just tell you right now, some of the bravest people I know, because I don't know that you could have got me on a bus with COVID-19. I still don't want to get on a bus. And I've been vaccinated twice, would take a third one if they give it to me. And I say that jokingly, but my wife has heard me say that a gazillion times. But I had it, don't want it again, hope I never see it again. But bus drivers to me was in a capsule, and you had nowhere to go during COVID-19. Like I said, they're some of the bravest people I know. So are our teachers. I mean, they're there every day teaching. Some of them are behind Viz Queen, some of them aren't. But I respect every one of them, whatever their wishes are. And our subs. And we've had subs come in, and they're hard to find. But we've survived. We've done a remarkable job, and like I said, with the way the year went with COVID, I would put everybody up against anybody. I wouldn't trade anybody for another district, I promise you that, because we we've done right by our kids. I believe that with my heart. Any questions? Please ask. 7 meals with the student loss that we've got, what we figured would get us right at that number that we have lost. 1.1 is what we figured, and that's right about what we have lost at student loss. So that would get us to that break-even point to where we was at with the student count that we had. That's one.
Has there been any effort to recoup some of these students who've gone to homeschool to try to find out why they left and what would it take to get them back?
Not a big effort, but I can tell you this. 99% of the time when a student leaves for homeschool, they're either mad at you or the other teacher or the other one, and they're going home to go home. They're doing exactly what we said with no accountability. And if they ever wanted to come back, this would have been the year, because virtual was offered basically to anybody. But I don't remember having any homeschool students come up and say, hey, we want to take your virtual, because it had been basically free. It had been a free program that they could have gotten. And I've actually had homeschool students, parents ask me about that. So to answer your question. Mm-hmm. And we do have a few that take extracurricular and have to come in for one period, but that's not many. Anybody else?
I've worked in school, for 5 years, and teachers are great. Most of them I've seen and stuff. I give them a lot of credit, but I don't think it's right to get rid of the janitors. You say you want to have your big employees, then you get rid of them. That ain't right. People lose money just like I did. I had to quit and lost all the days that shouldn't come to. That ain't right for you janitors to lose their jobs.
Well, they're not losing their job. So whoever told you that, they're, well,
Just like the cafeteria, it works just like the cafeteria when we switched over to Chartwell's, and a lot of those workers went to work for Chartwell's, and the janitors think if we do it, that's not been voted on it, will work the same way.
well, let me give you another good reason that we're looking at that, okay? I can't be here 24/7, and nobody can. I'm here during the day, but from 3 o'clock to midnight, I'm not here, okay? They're going to put a supervisor spot in there for that, and that's one of the reasons that we're looking at it. We haven't done anything, but we're looking.
The main place where we will save money on that is in our supplies. It's just with Chartwell's, and they're saying,
Why don't you do it on GMO and Fox and all those other places? Why don't you do it? Why don't you go to day shift?
we haven't decided anything yet. But the place that we're saving the money is that because this company is so large, that what they can buy in supplies will save us enormous money. Because we don't have the buying power that that company has. And that's almost the same reason Chartwell's can save us and has done so well, is that they're so big, they can save that money to the school.
Maybe they would do a good job.
I hope. They are. It's in your contract. Well, our state employees can work for that company, though. That will work for our school, work for Chartwell's. It's not that we're saying those people are gone and they're bringing people in. They have the opportunity to work.
Yeah, but they lose all the benefits.
That's-
They lose all the benefits.
No.
Yeah, they do.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
You asked people to step to the mic. I think we're having some people that's trying to scream in that can't hear.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions? with that, we will close. And I thank you for coming.